Today was a rough day. You went to work and your boss treated you like their emotional punching bag, and just like his wife, you walked out on him. So newly unemployed and fresh out of patience, you decide to make another poor decision. You load up DBD. You decide to play Slinger because there needs to be some yeehaw justice out in this world, and all your friends are too busy playing Fork Napkin. You load into the Temple of Purgation ready to take out the day's frustration on the Jake that just meandered in front of you. You took a few quick shots, which you were pretty sure should have hit. Jake seemed to agree as he walked over to you while you were reloading and handed you his toolbox. For a moment, you are baffled. You went from dealing with the only human being Mr. Rogers would have been disappointed with to this sweet little baby. You decide that it can't be all that bad, and you decide that you will dance with this Jake. You give him the nodders and fire the missile. Jake is picking up what you're putting down. The two of you spin like you're a rootin' tootin' Cinderella with her outdoorsy daddy issues Prince Charming. Everything was going beautifully until the line snapped. Jake was not moving. You watch in horror as Jake hits the ground after failing to mend and lays there motionless. It's fine. You can just carry him to the safety of his companions. That's when you discover something else. Your spacebar is broken. No problem. You'll just use an Xbox controller like a peasant. Except, you know when your roommate treats cartoons like documentaries? Yeah, you saw Balto and thought, oh, huskies are such calm and patient dogs. And after that husky came home, it climbed to the roof and snorted a line of coke off the shingles before breaking into your bedroom and destroying everything you know and love, including your backup Xbox controller. So here you are, sitting on an old clothes hamper and 2/3 of a pillow, while the dog is passed out in what is left of the love seat. You panic. You feel an urgent need to save this Jake, this one tiny beacon of decency in the shit stain of humanity. You leave the area, hoping the other survivors will come to his aid, but you quickly realize that help isn't coming. You've managed to walk into the bottom of the barrel of solo queue where you hope and pray that your fellow players will DC so you can get a bot, because even a hamster with joysticks for arms could play better than them. You can't just stand around and do nothing, so you try to find another survivor. You spot the whole gang. Quentin working diligently on Steve's backside. Steve seems to have met up with your roommate's husky since he looked like Mary Poppins starring in an episode of Cops. Then there's Bill, diligently working on a generator despite the looming threat of your presence. He's the only one that seems to have at least a dim bulb flickering in the attic of his skull. You quickly line up a shot and connect, reeling that survivor in like a fish, dragging him frantically towards the downed Jake. The Bill breaks the chain and runs for it, but you turn your back to him and swing insistently in the direction of the Jake. Bill stops, halfway hidden behind a wall, and watches. You can hear the dial-up buzzing in his brain. Finally, Bill made his determination. He believed you needed something and came out. You arrive at Jake, Bill looks at you, looks at Jake, and you swing to try and make the point blatantly obvious. Bill nods and runs off. Your last best hope for Jake was gone. You take a moment to try and change your key bindings, but you quickly realize that most of your keyboard is dead at this point. The only reason the AWSD functions at all is because 6 months worth of spilling Diet Coke in there has perpetually glued the key to the switch underneath. You find that Bill has returned, Steve and Quentin in tow. Steve tweaked in Jake's general direction before dropping down and giving Jake the business. Finally. Apparently Bill is just the repairman of the group and had to retrieve the medic to get anything done. Quentin continued to encourage the Steve in the only way he knew how. Jake was back up and you let out a sigh of relief before realizing that now you need to get him out of there. Steve was right in front of Jake, once again resuming his conversation with whatever deity the devil's lettuce had managed to manifest. Still, you quickly try to lay out the plan. You swing at the generator, then at Jake, then at the door. Jen, Jake, door. You look back at them. Bill seems to be attempting to piece it all together, but if the other two brains had been running on gasoline, they'd run out halfway through running around a nickel. Finally, Bill seemed to understand the assignment and went to Steve and pointed at him, then at a generator. Steve started moving before standing next to a generator. You and Bill look at each other, and after an uncomfortably long pause, Steve got to work. Neither of you had any hope for Quentin, so Bill just found another generator and started it up. You returned to the Jake, both to reassure him that help was coming and to keep the exploding crows from giving you a migraine. You didn't know if he could hear you, but you give him the nodders. Everything is going to be okay, buddy. You're 99% sure that Steve got distracted out there, but Bill, old dependable Bill, was out there slamming out those gens before returning to you, ready to begin the next phase. You gesture at the door and off he goes. Alright, Jake, this is it. You fire the shot and start dragging Jake towards the door. You attempt to reload before Jake's mend runs out, but you're barely too late. Miraculously, Steve arrives to assist, wobbling imperiously before kneeling down and bringing Jake back to his feet. You back up and slowly drag him to the door where Bill is waiting like a gentleman to open it up. Bill pops the gate, and you get him as close to the end as you can before you start up phase 2. You need to down Jake, knocking him forward until he's out the door. You begin the arduous task, uncomfortably aware of that timer ticking down, bringing you almost as much anxiety as the Sonic the Hedgehog timer. Finally, just as the timer is about to tick down, you knock him through the exit. Bill follows, then Steve, then, well, you can't let everyone go.